Hi everyone, my name is Annie Kingston and I am a speech and language therapist, and I'm working with chimpanzees to present to you this talk about autism and electronic communication apps. I know the title is not so catchy, but it's a big area out there, and it's really for all you parents that have children that are pre-verbal or non-verbal, and you're looking for another way for them to communicate with you. More than likely your child would be under 5 to kind of start looking at things like this. Maybe they're a bit older, but this talk in particular is aimed at under 5s, kind of, you know your child is autistic, their speech just hasn't quite happened, maybe it hasn't happened yet, but you know they want to communicate because they already are communicating and they're already taking you to show you what they want, or they're already using PECs. So this is about what else is out there. Some things you should know before we get into the nitty-gritty of it. These are completely and utterly just my opinions of two of the biggest apps out there. They are apps that I use with my clients that have autism and that are non-verbal. So there's no funding arrangement here. I'm not promoting any of these apps. I just want to show you what is out there and what they look like and what they sound like, because I don't know how much exposure or how much knowledge you have about all the different ways we can communicate using an iPad or any other tablet. So the next bit I have to kind of declare to you is that my device is an iPad, so I'm not quite sure about how everything works with Android because I only use iPads. But for the sake of this presentation, there are two apps that I'm going to be talking to you about. One is called Proloquo2Go. It's a really long, really difficult word to spell. The other one is called the Grid, and it's sometimes called Grid Player, sometimes called Grid 3, sometimes called Grid for iPad. These are the two biggest hitters in the autism kind of communication app world. If you go onto forums, you will hear parents talking about Proloquo2Go. Grid is getting more and more popular, and you'll see the reasons why. But this presentation is just about Proloquo2Go and the Grid. And I'm going to show you what they look like, what they sound like, and also I want to take away some of that myth that these things are hard to program or hard to use, because if you can operate your phone to set up emails and answer emails on your phone, you can program a communication app. 100%, I have no doubt whatsoever you'll be able to do it. So the aim of today is sit back and enjoy, because we've got two big apps to get through. If I have time, I will also link to some of the other apps I use in therapy that are for fun or for teaching purposes. But just for communication for your child with autism who is pre-verbal or non-verbal, we're going to look at Proloquo2Go and the Grid. So without any further ado, I'm going to start on Proloquo2Go. I'm just going to set up my iPad, and here we go. So this is a very, very busy screen, and this will be one of the things that you see when you first look at Proloquo2Go. It's one of their packages that comes out. For this app, what do you need to know? The first thing and the most important thing is this app is £249.99, and they don't do a kind of monthly subscription. It's a one-off cost, and that's what you pay and you get the app. It was one of the most expensive apps on the market ever for a long, long time. The reason it's expensive is because it uses a lot of memory and a lot of the iPad power or the tablet power, but also because these apps kind of weren't coming out. So Proloquo2Go are one of the first ones that cottoned on to the fact that we could make apps for children that couldn't speak and adults that couldn't speak, and that, you know, this is a great this is a great development in our therapy world and in the world of communication. So this is, for me, a very, very busy screen. And I, as a speech therapist, wouldn't start on this type of page. This is complex. I think if you haven't heard the voices before, have a little listen.
I want go.
Okay, so all that's happening is on my iPad, I'm pressing I, pressing want, and then pressing go. It's really nice that they've got child voices on these apps, and I think a lot of kids, it works well for them, and it does help that it's not kind of the robotic voices that we're used to of past. But as I said to you, this is a very busy page. Let's go to more. Wow, there's even more buttons, more pages, more. It's just a lot. So when you're a parent and you get your apps, sometimes people go straight on to this level, and then they get overwhelmed by it, and the child gets overwhelmed by it. So I guess what I want you to take away is, don't go with the templates, program your own pages. So to do that, I'm going to show you some of the pages that I've got on here. So this would be just a really simple choice-making board that I would make for someone who is highly motivated by food, and someone that I just want to help them use the iPad and learn that if they hit the button, it says the name, and then I can give them something. So much like PECs, instead of handing over the symbol, all I'm wanting them to do is press apple.
I want some apple, please.
And then I would give them apple. I want to show you the beauty of Proloquo2Go. This little button, the pencil down here, is our editing page. So we are working together with your child, and do you know what? Your child hates broccoli and they're never going to eat broccoli, so there's no point even having broccoli on there. So we're going to go into edit. You can see the buttons are there. It opens up all of our editing buttons down here. We select broccoli by tapping it. And then from there, what I would do is, you can either delete it here, which is really simple. So we can just get rid of it and it's gone. Once it's deleted, you're just up to here, done. And now we're down to two choices. Some children, I would even start with one choice on there. So I would get rid of this one, delete, and then done. So if I was working with a child just at the start of having an iPad or Proloquo2Go, and they were super motivated by Apple, and that was their reinforcer, I would definitely be having one single button on there, and then every time they pressed it, I would be giving them a piece of Apple, or even just helping them with hand over hand of pressing the button, and then here is the apple. So I'd always start using an app with something that your child is very motivated by, and also something that is going to be requested multiple times a day. So if it was, for example, swimming pool, and you only went to the pool on Saturdays, you wouldn't want to lead with swimming pool as your first button that you program. So let's say that you are looking to get your child to try something new to eat, and that you wanted to go with pear. So again, it's just a matter of coming to your edit button. This plus sign means add one button. This means to add a different folder. For the sake of showing you the app today, we'll just stick with a single button. And we want to add pair, type it in. I like this symbol, but there are other symbols I can choose from. I can also edit this button, and I can go online, take a photo of a pair, or save a photo of a pair from a Google search, and then I can also use that instead. So again, we've typed in pair, the label says pair, it's going to speak pair, and then we are done. Really, really fast way to program. And the beauty of electronic communication apps is that, unlike symbols and PECs, you can program this whilst you're on the move. So if you're somewhere and you think, wait a minute, I've got to put that on their communication board or their choice board, instead of the old system of having to take a photo and print it out and laminate it out and put some Velcro on it, you can just program in whilst you're then and there. So again, just to remind you, if I've programmed in pair and then I look in the fridge and there's no pair there, I want to quickly go in, and I can hide the button. So I'll tick it, and then if you can see the visibility down here, it says normal, but what I'm going to do is click on it, and I'm going to make it hidden. So I've already programmed the button on there. It's just going to be hidden. So I'll come up to done, and it's gone. So the beauty of hiding buttons is sometimes you want to hide the choice because it's not always available. So food is always an example of that. Again, swimming pool. So you can't go swimming at 7 o'clock at night when it's bedtime. So you'd want to kind of take swimming pool off the screen if it was being hit repeatedly. And also the beauty of hiding it instead of deleting it means that I don't have to go back in and program that later. All I have to do is come back to my edit button, click on the button, come back down to visibility, and it's back. Okay, so that's very, very simple programming on Proloquo2Go. So this is stage one, where you can do a choice. You can do a choice board for it, and that's nice, that's simple, quite similar to PECs. Let's have a look at what else we can do on Proloquo2Go. This is why it is £249.99, because there's more. So let's go to a more complex setup, which is one that I have done with another client. So here we have started making categories. When the button is like this, it's called a folder, and that will open up into a new page. So let's have a look at choices. Okay, but this young man, we have looked at energy levels because we were in the pattern of doing a sensory input every morning. So we were following a sensory diet, but we were also trying to do kind of consistent levels of sensory input. But what we found is that he really needed this choice of telling us, did he want the input to be
quiet and slow,
or did he want a sensory wake up?
Crazy and busy.
That's crazy and busy. And giving him the control of what level he wanted for his first activity of the day meant that he had a much better day. Because sometimes when we think about the things that we do for sensory input, we might do deep pressure in a certain way every single time, whereas actually you can do deep pressure in a quiet and slow way. You can also do deep pressure in a bit more waking up way, and it really depends on how the child is presenting that day, and giving him the option of which one to choose changed his whole day and how he went through the rest of the week. Really, it was quite powerful putting that on for him. Let's have a look at what else we did. Choice of toys, Paw Patrol or PJ Masks, classics. In this, you can definitely, let's go to PJ Masks. So this is an example where I used the symbols straight because I was programming on the run, and I didn't quite have time to go into Safari or to Google to find the pictures of PJ Masks. Easy to do though. And we were making stories with our PJ Masks characters. So we were looking at who did escape. Was it Owlet? Did she escape?
Escaped.
Or was it Catboy?
Catboy.
So we were starting to use it as more of a narrative tool. Let's have a look at what else is out there. Okay, so this is something that I think you'll find quite interesting and handy. It depends on your level. This boy's fascination was Thomas the Tank Engine or PJ Masks in terms of the theme songs. So what he really wanted on there was to listen to the songs. So bear with me, because once I press one, we'll have to listen to it to the end. And I think maybe PJ Masks is the winner for tonight. So if I hit PJ Masks, we'll hear the theme song.
Save the day. Who are these heroes to show you the way? It's the right time to fight crime. I can't think of a rhyme.
So it has quite a few handy little tools, right? What his family did end up doing was also putting a stop button on theirs, so that when the song was playing, you could hit stop and then it would override the song, which probably saved them a lot of repetition of PJ Masks. So this is one of the buttons that everyone will recommend that you put in, which is a help button.
Help.
And in that children don't necessarily use it straight away. It's not intuitive to them to go and press a button, because more often than not, they've come to you. But because we're looking at communication and language, you want a child to be able to verbalize that to anyone else, especially our really vulnerable kids that are pre-verbal or non-verbal. If they're at school and their teaching assistant is away and there's a replacement teaching assistant there who doesn't know their style of communication, then if a child presses help on an electronic app, then that adult, that unfamiliar adult, knows that they need help. And so it's a lot more successful for the child. I often would play games, and then if something was still in a box or any other situation, like often at home you might find that the remote has run out of batteries, or a TV show is stuck, or they want something else, and that it's a great opportunity for you to model for a child to ask for help. It's very tricky in families because you're already interpreting their communication instantly, and more often than not successfully. So, but for everyone else, having a help button is really, really actually helpful. So let's have a look at another layer. Okay, so this is where we start to look a little bit like PECs if we wanted to. we can start doing sentence formation. So in that, we want to do the same as what PEX does and really make that I want bit stand out. So you can be
I want.
And then let's say it was a surprise from the box.
Surprise from box.
Here is an example of a photo from the web as opposed to a symbol. And always, this is what I quite like about these apps as well. You've got so much more flexibility, and they're quite descriptive. Like, look at the picture for hug. I mean, we don't need to use that one.
I want. Hug.
And also look at the facial expression for hiding. So it's a little bit sneaky, but it tells you a lot more than the standard symbols really that we've been using for a long time. And the fact that you can choose which one you want on there. So really this page is about being able to say I want in a sentence, and then these are all the choices that that child can have. This is what we did for the break page. So this is when your child is working hard and they've kind of had enough of that activity, or they've had enough of working and they just need to move. We program this page on.
I want a break for.
I remember this is your page, your folder that's going to open up into another button. How many minutes?
3 minutes.
Okay, so then
I want a break for 3 minutes.
Great, and that would be fabulous asking, and then followed up by that, I would be saying, what do you want for your break? We can get as complex as we need it to be. So this is when I was specifically working on a sentence formation. So we were looking at pictures, and then we would say, who is it?
Girl.
And then we'd be asking, and what are they doing?
Is drinking.
Okay, so then you're starting to use Proloquo2Go as an educational tool. It's not just communication in terms of requesting. Now we can use it for teaching, which I think is quite invaluable. So, to summarize for Proloquo2Go, £249.99. Can it grow with your child's communication? Yes, it's definitely can, and it is only limited by how you want to program it and what vocab in which order that you want on there. The reason I say learn to program it yourself is because A, it's really simple, and B, your child will be more motivated and more successful if this is personalized to them and they can see that it relates to them and things in their life, especially their own toys or places or people in their lives. Okay, that's been a very, very fast snapshot of Proloquo2Go. Let's move to the grid. So already you can see there are a lot of different options for the grid. You can either pay £349.99 for a one-off payment, or they do a monthly charge of £9.99. The reason they have an ongoing subscription and cost is because there's a lot of therapists and developers that are constantly designing new things to go on the grid. So they are constantly progressing and making new stuff that is relevant all the time. So you've got a choice of different vocabs here that you can choose from, which is really, really nice. So they've made a range of different templates. So let's have a look at Symbol Talker A. Okay, so visually, it's a very, very different setup than Proloquo2Go. It's one of those things that divides people. Some people like that it's softly colored and it looks really child friendly. Other people find the kind of clinical appearance of Proloquo2Go much more appeasing to them. It depends on so many things. So when we start looking at our categories here, we can go to opinions.
I think it is. Great.
Okay, so you can hear the difference in the voice quality. This one is set to an adult woman. Obviously, this is British vocab as well, which is always a plus because I don't think many other countries say.
I think it is. Hands.
So the templates that they've got are already a lot more playful and child orientated, and maybe, you know, if we can say just a little bit less clinical, I think that works. Again, don't get it and then think, oh, I'm going to start on these pages, because it's very, very simple to program. So let's have a quick look now at the programming of it. I'm going to go on to this one here. Okay, so this has been one that we've been playing around with before. There's simple edit buttons up in the top, edit grids. All right, look at this. So we're already in again. So we can come onto a button. These ones again are hidden. So if we come onto a button, we're going to ask it to write and speak because that's what we want it to do. And going back to our earlier example of apple versus chips. Okay, and then we are absolutely done. So all we have to do is come over here and go boop. And then we are done. Finish editing. Okay, so again, it takes seconds to program. And I really do think you'll be able to do it because it's intuitive and it tells you. So that is one benefit of the grid, is that it absolutely tells you what you need to do next. So if we look to change some of these buttons, remember we're just going into our edit mode, edit grids. Okay, so we have hidden some of these. If you wanted to make it into, we can move them around very easily. That's just my finger dragging them. If you want to change the grid size or the button size, all you have to do is drag it, which I particularly like because there's sometimes with kids that you want them to really focus on just the one button there that you want them to learn that day. And this is a really nice way of being able to highlight the button. If we go on to another one and we just go write and speak, and this time we wanted to say goodbye. Let's have a look at it. Great. If I really wanted to challenge a child to make sure that they can tell the difference between hi or bye, I would put them kind of within a close vicinity of one another to see if they're hitting the right one. But when I'm initially teaching hi and goodbye, especially with children with autism, I'd make it all the way at the end so it's fitting. So in our session, we might start with hi. We might say hello to everyone in the session. We wouldn't say goodnight. That's just in there from previous ones. We can either edit the cell or delete. What we might do is come out of there. Style. What I really want to do is I want to hide it again. So what we will do is put it in hidden, and then we're done. And then we finish editing and it's gone. So I might do a page that says, hi, everyone. And then we would have things like Play-Doh, sing song, pack up, goodbye. So actually now you're using your communication app to be a timetable, which is really, really easy for children to follow, and because they can see it visually and you can adapt it as you need to, is really, really handy. Let me show you some of the other features of the grid, because you don't just get communication grids with it. You can have some of the cause and effect games. So this would be when you're first starting out with touchscreens. To say we wanted to encourage the cause and effect. Here's a game. I'm going to go with crab. Fabulous. So that's brilliant, because I'm teaching cause and effect, and the other beauty of the grid is that they already are basing language right from the start. So after we watch the crab one, I would then be showing them the page and then saying to the child, oh wow, we saw a crab, look.
The crab is dancing.
And then I would be saying, I don't know what you want. Do you want to finish now, or do you want to do some more?
I would like to finish now.
Finish now, or
I would like to do more.
do more. Which one do you want? And then I would probably help them hand over hand to choose which one they want. But this is one of the benefits of the grid, because it comes with these different layers that we can add in. The other thing that I really must show you, there's two really important things. One is first words, which is really useful for your pre-verbal and non-verbal children. So you get to choose what you want the first words to be. If we were working on greetings, especially with children with autism, and I want them to again learn the difference between hello and goodbye, or that someone has gone, this is the cutest little app, because you press the button and then you watch the robot. So
hello.
And then just to show you the difference between hello and goodbye.
Bye.
Okay, and then last one is just to show you the gone.
Gone.
Right, so it's just a really, really cute way to start on communication. So if you were stuck, I would definitely use that. I'm aware that we've got just a little bit more time. I just quickly want to show you that there is also the Amazon Echo page, where you can program in things already for your Amazon Echo. So you can say,
Alexa, play George Ezra Shotgun.
yeah, or
Alexa, what's the time?
so also with Alexa, you can obviously ask for radio, you can put other music on, ask for the weather, play a book. You can do lots and lots of jokes with Alexa, which I'm not sure everyone knows. Alexa will automatically tell us a joke.
Alexa, tell us a joke.
So this is already pre-programmed, and for non-verbal kids to be able to kind of ask, or pre-verbal kids to be able to ask Alexa to put their favorite song on independently is kind of amazing. And it's something that I know a lot of parents find really rewarding, to see their child doing that themselves. So I'm aware that we have rushed this one. There's also a communication passport, which is available on the grid, which is really beautiful for setting up a page that tells others about your child, but you would have to know it was there to go looking for it, which is the only problem with that. Also, lots of parents are very keen on this. This is a YouTube one for kids where you program in the videos and you put the links in there, and they're the only videos that can play on YouTube. So it kind of stops that risk of your child ending up into a black YouTube hole. So that is a whirlwind tour of the grid. We've only got a couple of minutes left. Here's what I would say. Speech therapists, NHS speech therapists always will know where there is an AAC hub. It's called Augmentative Assistive Communication, and these will be specialists in this type of electronic communication devices, including iPads and all types. If your child is preverbal or nonverbal, please go to your NHS speech therapist and say, can we have a referral to our AAC hub? And then your child will be seen by a specialist in these type of things. In the meantime, if you have any kind of questions that you want to forward on, or just general kind of queries, please contact Chimpanzees and they will forward requests back to me, and I will help you guys out as much as I can. Before I sign off, I just want to say, please don't be afraid of any of this. You've more than likely got a smartphone, and if you're operating that, you can operate this, and it's glorious to watch children communicate with a voice coming out, and it feels very different from PECS. PECS is great. PECS is a great starting point, but when you hear a child using the device when you're in another room and they're calling out to you, it's kind of magic. So definitely contact Chimpanzees if there's any further questions. But Grid and Proloquo2Go, super expensive. Have a look around. You can trial the Grid for 30 days for free, and then it's $9.99 per month. Proloquo2Go is $249.99. Up to you. Big decisions to make. Thank you.